All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy Evolution Needlenose with Zigzag and Sunbeam. Yeah, we got our third and final of the Decepticon double target masters here. We got in Siege, we got Spinister, and then way back in Titan's Return, we got Quake, even though neither of those figures actually came with, like little target master partners, but still, it's nice to have the three characters, although I do hope that they revisit Quake at some point. I never picked up that figure just because it was just a repaint of Hardhead. It would be nice to actually get a new dedicated Quake figure, although then that one will probably come with Target Masters, and then Spinister would be the odd one out, but whatever. I'm not really looking for a replacement for Siege Spinister. That's a very good figure. But yeah, here we have Needlenose in his jet mode here, and it's a fairly good jet mode. It's okay. It's not really anything to write home about because it is kind of just a dude folded up underneath the jet. It's a pretty simple, but in terms of the actual pattern on the top of the jet, I think it looks good. It's just a little bit chunky underneath, which is, I guess, to be expected of like a deluxe scale jet, but it's just a little bit uninspired, I would say. Yeah, no, it looks fairly good. And then we have got Zigzag and Sunbeam here. Yeah, I always thought that because this is the one with yellow on it, I always assumed that he was Sunbeam and he was Zigzag, but no, apparently he's Zigzag and he's Sunbeam, which has always been the case. I just thought it was the other way around. But yeah, they're fairly simple. They're pretty much just two pieces each where, they have the main body here and then the barrels, and then you just fold it onto the back or, onto the back of the legs in the case of a Sunbeam there. And yeah, they're just static. They each have he's got like a weapon kind of sculpted in his hand here, kind of on the side. And then I guess has some sort of like blade or something sticking out of his hand, which I wouldn't have thought anything of if it wasn't there on the other side. A little weird, but yeah, whatever. They're nothing really all that exciting, but they're okay. Here they are with the other recent Target Master that we got in the last wave of regular Legacy with Peacemaker, I guess. So they're about the same size as him. Again, just fairly simple, nothing really that exciting. They're not really that dramatic upgrades from the original ones since they're pretty much just completely static, but they're okay. In terms of storing them in the jet mode on Needlenose, you actually do have a few different options here. What I generally prefer to do, I don't really think they look good in any of their three options, but there are, they've got peg holes on the back of each of them and then pegs on Needlenose's wings, so you can do that. I don't think it helps with the sort of like chunky look of the jet when they also, are just like hanging under the wings like that, really making it look super not aerodynamic. But weirdly enough, I think that's probably the best solution. The other things that you can do is this piece up here with the actual like tail fins is actually just pegged in, so you could take that off and then plug these guys together like this and peg it onto the top like that, and then you could, I guess, if you wanted, put the tail fin back on there, so at least they're symmetrical and in the middle, but it just kind of looks stupid, I think. But so that's an option that you can do. The one that they also show off in the instructions, which truthfully I think is the worst of the three options, is you're supposed to take these back sections here, which end up being the feet, and unpeg them from the up. They like tab into the section here, so that you can fold these back like this, which is kind of unfortunate because these tabs going in here are really the only things that like actively hold these parts together. Otherwise they always want to separate a little bit, so it's not quite as firm of a connection if you do it this way. And then you're supposed to take Sunbeam here and plug him further down on Zigzag, and then these two tabs right here, and then this slot right here will actually correspond to these two slots right there and this little tab right here, so you can plug in Zigzag like that and have it just like stick out the back as like another thruster or something. I guess it's not that bad looking. I mean, I don't really think any of the storage is that good looking, but I don't know. I generally prefer to leave these tabbed in because the jet mode just feels a lot more solid when these are actually tabbed up into place like that. So I generally keep them under the wings, but I don't think they really look good in any of the ways that they can store, which is kind of to be expected with the Target Masters anyway. But yeah, we'll just transform them back and kind of leave them off to the side over here for now. We'll take them off so we can do some comparisons with Needlenose in his jet mode here. Just for a standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, which obviously, deluxe size jet with deluxe size car, they're not going to scale properly. He's way too small, but you know, that's what they look like together. Here he is with Siege Spinister. Again, I never got Quake, so I don't have the third double target master of the Decepticons, but that's what they look like together. I think they look fairly good together. For a standard size jet comparison, here he is with Earthrise Starscream, who obviously is much bigger, being a Voyager, but that's what they look like together. And then you know, it's been a while since we've got Deluxe jets, but here he is with one of the aerial bots with Slingshot there, so you can see the kind of general size there. So yeah, you know, like I said, jet mode is fairly basic. It's mostly just him folded up underneath, but we're probably going to get a lot more of this mold because we've seen images of the new upcoming Skyquake, who is kind of an amalgamation of like Transformers Prime Skyquake and the original sort of Euro G1 Skyquake, and they advertise on the, you know, the Transformers Prime version of it that that Needlenose can actually peg onto the top, which is very reminiscent of the Predator gimmick from Euro G1, where, you know, the 4 different Predator jets could plug onto the top of, you know, that version of Skyquake. So this mold, they might reshell it a little bit to be different jets, but I'm guessing that we're going to get this at least 4 more times to be the 4 Euro G1 Predators. Maybe they'll do other ones that, you know, that just do the same thing, but you know, have the same sort of functionality. I don't know, but I am guessing that we have not seen the last of this mold. It will be used a number of different times because, for all intents and purposes, when you do the transformation, it's pretty much the robot mode underneath and then the jet on top. So they really could reshell the jet in a number of different ways without really messing with the overall transformation scheme, as we'll show off here. But yeah, to transform Needlenose, first thing you want to do is take the cockpit here. It is on a double hinge. It'll just unpeg like that and then fold up like this and tab into place. Then you want to take the wings and they just fold up like that, kind of at an angle. And then this whole backpack section, again, tabs from the feet just like that, and then comes down like this and will tab into place like that. And then you take the feet and separate them out like that, rotate them around, and then fold the feet down onto the leg just like that. Then you want to take this this chest piece, it'll untab, and then we can bring the section with the arms on them out like that, flip around the robot mode head, and then take these 2 little vent sections and they'll come down and they'll sit like that. And then the 2 tabs on these little arm pieces and then the 2 tabs on those vents will go back into the chest piece. So you can fold that back up and then just unfold the arms and rotate them forward. And there we have Needlenose in his robot mode. Let me just adjust the camera here real quick. And yeah, I'd say he looks fairly good. I actually really like the way the robot mode looks. I do kind of have an issue with the fact that, you know, like I said, the jet and the robot mode are fairly integrated. Like mostly all the actual jet parts just end up on his back. That was something that used to be a problem with Jetformers a long time ago, and I kind of thought we'd moved past that, but you know, whatever. But as a robot, I'd say he's fairly solid. The one big issue I have with him, honestly, is just I wish that the nose cone folded up out of the way a little bit better, just because it's kind of ugly to have it sticking out of the back like that and being able to see it from the front, but that's not even really that big of an issue. In terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint here. It has a fairly good range and can rotate around like that. The shoulders can swivel around like that and hinge out to the side. He's got a bicep swivel, a double jointed elbow that, you know, gets pretty much the full curl. He has wrist swivels, which aren't even for transformation. He does have a waist joint, though it does kind of bump into the backpack here, so you don't get a ton of range with it until it starts bumping into things, but, you know, a bit, enough to be useful. The hips can go forward, and not really so much that far back just because of all the backpack stuff, and all the way out to the side for how it works for transformation. He's got a thigh swivel. He's got a very deep knee bend, again, because the back of his lower legs are pretty much hollow for transformation because the arms go into them. And then the feet, they can't really tilt forward, but they can tilt back for transformation, and they can tilt out to the side as well. So actually fairly good articulation. It's kind of, you know, a symptom of the fact that he's basically just like, you know, they could devote all of the joints to actual articulation joints rather than transformation, because his transformation is so simple, but you know, it works. Here he is again with Zigzag and Sunbeam, so you can see what he looks like with them. And obviously we can have him hold those either, you know, both individually like that, Or, you know, you could plug in, I mean, you could plug them in either way. I usually think it looks better to plug Sunbeam into the top of Zigzag here because I don't know, I just think that looks a lot better than that. They don't really plug in super well just because Zigzag's chest kind of bumps into the hinge on the back of Sunbeam. So, you know, I think that's the way that it looks the best. You could also do it like that, which, I mean, you could do it, but again, this is the best looking solution, I think. And that looks fairly good. Obviously, they're a little bit big and unwieldy, but that's kind of always the case with Target Masters. You know, in terms of storage, I don't really care about storage for Target Masters just because I figure when he's not actively using the guns, they can just be walking around on their own. That's kind of the point. But you could plug them back onto the wings if you want, and that's really the best option there. Or I guess, well, I was going to say you could untab this again, but then with the nose cone section in there really wouldn't be clearance for that. You could, if you wanted, have him hold this as some sort of like weird blade weapon, I guess. I'm not entirely sure why this unpegs. I think it's just for that storage option in robot mode. Maybe it'll be more relevant with figures later. Maybe they did it that way so that, you know, if they want to make a different jet, they can just peg in a new tail fin rather than having to change the whole sculpt that it's attached to. But, you know, so I think he works fairly well in robot mode with the Target Masters. In terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see he's actually a fairly tall Deluxe. He's a little bit taller than a Sideswipe there, who's pretty average. Here he is again with Spinister, so you can see what he looks like with the other double Target Master. Again, you know, kind of the same height as Spinister. I think they look pretty good together. Here he is again. Sideswipe took a tumble. Here he is again with Starscream. And here he is again with Slingshot, just so you can see for the Combiner Wars Deluxe there, a previous jet. And yeah, there's not really a whole lot else to say about him. Like I said, I think we're going to be seeing this mold a lot, possibly as the Predators and maybe even some other things. I think robot mode looks really good. The jet mode is a little bit basic, and the transformation is very, very basic, but weirdly enough, he might be my favorite of the Wave 1 Deluxes in Legacy Evolution. It's either him or Scraphook. Scraphook is okay, and Breakdown is all right, but we've seen it before, and then we'll talk about Hotshot when we get to him. But yeah, definitely in terms of like the actual joints, I think Needlenose is definitely the one that feels the most solid. Like I said, you know, because he's so basic, he kind of just gets to be a regular action figure with some jet parts on his back. So, you know, I think he's fairly good. A little bit unexciting, but still fairly good. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Needlenose. If I can get his guys to plug in here. There we go. Yeah, solid figure.